Today in the lesson, we are going to study another type of problems that occur when working with percentages. What kind of problem is this? The point is that you and I remember we found the percentages of a number. We used to find the number by the percentages. Now, but we still need to learn how to find the percentages themselves. What happens in this case? So let's take a moment. Let's think about what we end up with. When we find the percentages of a number, we get a number as an answer. When we find a number by percentages, the answer is also a number. And when we look at the next type of problem, we're going to answer with a percentage. Percentages. What are these problems and how can we solve them? The problem is as follows. The initial speed of the car, which is, I'm going to write down speed 1, was 40 kilometers per hour. Next, the car increased its speed and started going at 56 kilometers per hour. We need to calculate by how many percent it increased its speed. So we need to calculate how many percent the car has increased its speed. Why do I say increased? Obviously, if the speed was 40 kilometers per hour, became 56 kilometers per hour, it is clear that the speed has increased. Of course, some problems will ask you to answer the question whether the percentages have increased or whether they've decreased. But for now, we take the task where it is obvious that the percentages have increased. So how to find the given percentages? In order to solve percentages, we need to understand what value we should take to be 100%. And when I suggested you to solve by the method of proportion, this is the most universal way to solve problems on percentages. Therefore, I recommend you to use proportion when solving problems on percentages. Because in this case, you can clearly see what you have to find and what you have given. So, let's go through. Let's do some reasoning. If my percentages have increased, then I need to write in my answer by how many percentages they have increased. And if I'm asked how much the percent increased or decreased, in this case the original rate or the original price of the product, we take the original 100%. That's why I write that. 40 kilometers per hour. O is 100%. Next, and 56 kilometers per hour. I don't know what percent is. And when I wrote down our brief condition, I understand how I will proceed. In general, the method of proportion is a universal method, and I recommend using this method. What do I get here? The question is usually denoted by x, and then multiply. 40 kilometers per hour times x, and I write it down. 40 kilometers per hour, I multiply by x, and that equals 56 kilometers per hour times 100%. Always write units. Why? So that when you get the answer, you can realize whether it is the right answer or not. That will be your clue. Now we have an equation again that we know how to solve. X equals 56 kilometers per hour. I multiply by 100% and divide by 40 kilometers per hour. Solving this proportion, what do we get? Let's reduce it. 40 and 100. We get 20 times, that's 2, and that's 5. Next, notice the kilometers per hour. And my kilometers per hour are getting shorter. What's that leave me with in my answer? I'm left with percentages, which is what we need to find. I mean, by how many percent? The only thing is, we have to do one more thing. But for now, let's keep solving. 56 I divide by 2. That's 28. And 28 times 5. That would be 140%. So, 56 kilometers per hour is 140%. So the question is, how much more speed? If my speed was 100% and we found 56 kilometers per hour is 140%. I'll put it here. Then I can safely answer the question, how much of a percent increase in speed? Clearly, I have to subtract 100% from 140, and I'm writing it down. I take 140%, I subtract 100%, and the result is 40%. That will be our answer. As you can see, using the method of proportion, we clearly understand how we need to make this equation to get the right answer. Next class, we'll look at another problem. And that's all for today. Goodbye. See you again.